just a short 50-minute drive from school via the state's shortest highway is Coloma. The Coloma Bridge was built in 1915. Along California's historic Highway 49, tucked neatly into a beautifully forested valley in the Sierra foothills, Marshall Gold Discovery State Historic Park straddles the South Fork of the American River. Here, on January 24, 1848, James Marshall found gold flakes in the stream bed and sparked one of historic's largest human migrations. John Sutter was founder of a vast agricultural empire in the Sacramento Valley. He partnered with James W. Marshall to go into the lumber business. In 1885, Coloma's 3 private schools enrolled 187 pupils. 2 years later, one large public school held 234 children. That school was housed in the original El Dorado County Courthouse on this site. The courthouse burned down in 1915, and this school building was moved here from Slantington near Kelsey. The school was restored in 1995 by the Gold Discovery Park staff. Marshall selected Coloma Valley, 45 miles east of Sutter's Fort, as a mill site because it had a river for power and stands of large ponderosa pine trees for lumber. In the fall of 1847, Marshall began construction of the mill that you can see here, with a labor force that includes local Indians and members of the U.S. Army Mormon Battalion. A low dam was built across the river to funnel part of the stream into the diversion channel that you can see now. This channel would carry wood through the mill. By January of the next year, in 1848, the mill was ready to be tested. The water from the diversion channel drives the mill wheel. However, the tail race which carried water away from the mill was too shallow, backing up the water and preventing the mill wheel from turning properly. To deepen the tail race, each day the Indian laborers loosened the rock. At night, water was allowed to run through the ditch to wash away the loose debris from that day's diggings. On the morning of January 24, 1848, while inspecting the watercourse, Marshall spotted some shiny flecks in the tail race. He scooped them up, and after bending them with his fingernail and pounding them with a rock, he placed them in the crown of his hat and hurried to announce his finds to the others.
Do you know why this cabin is important in history?
No.
This was the Mormon workers' cabin. This wasn't a gold miner's cabin. This was built before gold was discovered. And the six Mormon workers that were working on the mill when Mr. Marshall discovered the gold here in Coloma lived and worked and cooked in this cabin. My name is Henry Bigler. I was one of the Mormons that was here. And my journal, I kept a journal, everyday journal of what happened here while we were working. And here's a copy of the page of my journal. It shows on January 24th of 1848, Mr. Marshall found some type of metal that he presumed to be gold. Now we're having breakfast. Mr. Marshall, he comes up out of the tail race of the mill, and he's got these gold pebbles in the crown of his hat. And he says, "Boys, I believe I found a gold mine." And you know, we were rather skeptical. You just don't walk into the creek and pick up gold. It's got to be tougher than that. Gold's very valuable. Well, we cooked it in the fire and we hammered it with a hammer. And Mrs. Wimmer, she was our camp cook. She was making soap, and we put a few pebbles in the lye pot that she was making soap with. And the next morning, she took out a ball of soap, and we poured off the potash and the lye down to the bottom of that pot is these gold pebbles. Now we're pretty convinced that this is really gold. Well, the word got out pretty soon. The gold had been found in Coloma, and people started coming up here they were leaving their jobs they were just closing the doors and coming up to the mountains to mine for gold, because you could pick up $100 worth of gold in a day, where most people couldn't make $2 in a month. So if you could come up here and pick up 5 ounces of gold in a day, that was a pretty good day. And most of the easy gold was all gone the first year. And those that came in 1849 and after, sometimes they found real easy gold, and sometimes they didn't. It was a very, very rough life.
The Aerostray. Mexicans introduced the mule or horse-powered Aerostray to California in 1849. Gold-bearing ore was ground between heavy stones and a surface of well-fitted rocks. Miners then panned the pulverized ore to collect the gold. The Aerostray was effective, but too slow for the impatient Americans. Now what we have here is the Miner's 10 Commandments.
Exhibits in the Gold Discovery Museum tell the story of John Sutter and James Marshall, and how drastically this simple act of noticing a small fleck of gold would alter the lives of hundreds of thousands of people from that day to the present. The museum also has Indian and Gold Rush era exhibits, including mining equipment, horse-drawn vehicles, household implements, and other memorabilia, as well as films. In July 1848, the area's population had jumped to 4,000. That December, flooding caused Sutter to sell his interest in the mill, and Marshall took on 2 new partners. Hydraulic mining is using pressurized water jets produced by a nozzle called a monitor. This was used in the 1850s during the California Gold Rush in the United States. Though successful in extracting gold-rich materials, the widespread use of the process resulted in extensive environmental damage. This is an example of hydraulic mining equipment.